must lead, and as voters, we must vote. I submit to you this. If your vote didn't matter, extremists would be trying so hard to take it away. Our vote is our voice. And when we vote, we win. And when black people vote, we make a difference. Look at Atlanta, Nakima. Let me say it again. When we vote, we all win. Uplifting underserved communities and black communities is uplifting all of America. So we can make a difference, but we must act. There is no better way to honor the legacy of those whose shoulders we stand on than to exercise the right that they sought for us to secure. In the words of John Lewis, the vote is the most sacred, non-violent tool in our democracy, and we must use it or we lose it. Today, we cross the Epping Pettus Bridge in honor of their legacy, but our march towards the beloved community does not end on the other side. It continues in every vote that's cast, every vote that's counted, and in every voice that is heard. When I close my eyes, I can still remember John Lewis's final words. John, riddled with cancer, came on that bridge 4 months before he passed to walk across that bridge, as he would say, one more time. He gave us the solution and the remedy. If you close your eyes, I think you can almost hear him. He said, never give up, never give in, work as hard as you can, and keep your eyes on the prize. We are not going to give up. We are not going to give in. And we are not going back. So we're going to pass the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. I will continue every Congress that I am so proud to be elected. I will continue to make sure that we introduce and we pass the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Act. All of these Congress people come to Selma, Republicans and Democrats. Don't just come to Selma. Honor John's legacy and the legacies of the foot soldiers and do something about it. We can do it and we can do it together.
Oh yeah, you're good. Sorry. Sorry, I didn't see you there.
I moved quietly. Can you move his microphone?
I'll take that.
Oh.
Sally's doing a hit right now. I would probably just keep doing cutaways.
member of the Selma Jubilee, Azalee Forcier.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the annual Bridge Crossing Jubilee. If you have come of gun violence prevention. Not only this, but she has continued the fight for civil rights by launching the Reproductive Freedom Tour. Her efforts and vision has provided young women like me who aspire to create impactful, long-lasting change, an example of Black excellence. But before I introduce this wondrous woman, allow me to give due credit to those who have made this possible. Ladies and gentlemen, and those in between, you are in the city of Selma. This is a historic place that many change makers have come to during the division of many of the great opportunities we as a country experience today. Leaders like Bernard Lafayette, James Bevel, Amelia Boynton, Marie Foster, Martin Luther King Jr., the foot soldiers, the radical youth, and many others. These leaders and foot soldiers have made strides towards the betterment of the world, and they forever have my gratitude. But please do not mistake a thank you as an adequate show of gratitude. Gratitude requires action. Take advantage of your position. Learn about their efforts. Teach about their efforts. Keep their stories alive. Pave the way for change. Vice President Harris has done this, not only for the people of today, but for the people of tomorrow.
Can you do a pan from one to the other? I'll count
She
you down.
is, in the words of Maya Angelou, the hopes and dreams of the
I guess go
city.
ahead.
Kamala Harris was the first person of color to be elected into the position of District Attorney of San Francisco. She is the hopes and dreams of the slave. Kamala Harris was the first Black woman to become the Attorney General for the state of California. She is the hopes and dreams of the slave. She has held the position of the U.S. Senator. She is the hopes and dreams of the slave. And she has served as a model for young women like me to let us know we are the hopes and the dreams of the slave. Look at where you are and know that we are the products of the hopes and dreams of the slave. Make use of their efforts and suffering. Learn of it. Teach of it. Keep their stories alive. Follow the example of Vice President Harris and take it one step further. Become the hopes and dreams of the slave realized. Ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between, I have the honor to introduce the first woman and the first Black woman to be the Vice President of the United States. Give it up for Kamala Harris.
members of our administration, dedicated activists, and dear friends. So before I begin today, I must address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. What we are seeing every day in Gaza is devastating. We have seen reports of families eating leaves or animal feed, women giving birth to malnourished babies with little or no medical care, and children dying of malnutrition and dehydration. As I have said many times, too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And just a few days ago, we saw hungry, desperate people approach aid trucks, simply trying to secure food for their families after weeks of nearly no aid reaching northern Gaza. And they were met with gunfire and chaos. Our hearts break for the victims of that horrific tragedy and for all the innocent people in Gaza who are suffering from what is clearly a humanitarian catastrophe. People in Gaza are starving. The conditions are inhumane. And our common humanity compels us to act. As President Joe Biden said on Friday, the United States is committed to urgently get more life-saving assistance to innocent Palestinians in need. Yesterday, the Department of Defense carried out its first air drop of humanitarian assistance, and the United States will continue these airdrops. And we will work on a new route by sea to deliver aid. And the Israeli government must do more to significantly increase the flow of aid. No excuses. They must open new border crossings. They must not impose any unnecessary restrictions on the delivery of aid. They must ensure humanitarian personnel, sites, and convoys are not targeted. And they must work to restore basic services and promote order in Gaza so more food, water, and fuel can reach those in need. As I have said repeatedly since October 7th, Israel has a right to defend itself. And President Joe Biden and I are unwavering in our commitment to Israel's security. Hamas cannot control Gaza. And the threat Hamas poses to the people of Israel must be eliminated. Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization that has vowed to repeat October 7th again and again until Israel is annihilated. Hamas has shown no regard for innocent life, including for the people of Gaza, who have suffered under its rule for almost 2 decades. And Hamas still holds dozens of hostages for nearly 150 days now. Innocent men and women, including American citizens, who were brutally taken from their homes and from a concert. I will repeat, the threat of Hamas poses to the people of Israel must be eliminated. And given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire. For at least the next 6 weeks, which is what is currently on the table. This will get the hostages out and get a significant amount of aid in. This would allow us to build something more enduring, to ensure Israel is secure, and to respect the right of the Palestinian people to to dignity, freedom, and self-determination. Hamas claims it wants a ceasefire. Well, there is a deal on the table. And as we have said, Hamas needs to agree to that deal. Let's get a ceasefire. Let's reunite the hostages with their families. And let's provide immediate relief to the people of Gaza. I will now address the occasion for our gathering today on this hallowed ground on the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where 59 years ago, on a cold Sunday morning, 600 brave souls set out from Selma, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder. They marched for freedoms that were theirs by birth and theirs by right. The freedom to vote, the freedom to live without fear of violence or intimidation, the freedom to be full and equal members of our nation. They marched peacefully. They knew violence against them was inevitable. They knew they would be surrounded by troopers with nightsticks. They knew they might be trampled by horses. Even so, they marched forward. But they were forced to retreat. And yet, they would not be deterred, defeated, or denied. And they returned to this bridge, while many were still bound in bandages, because they knew what was on the other side. A promise of a future that was more equal, more just, and more free. And yes, they crossed this bridge. And in so doing, they also built a bridge. They brought together white Americans, black Americans, all sorts of Americans, and ministers and rabbis and members of SCLC and SNCC and folks of all ages and backgrounds. And less than 6 months later, the Voting Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law. The story of Selma, a story of our nation. Freedom is fundamental to the promise of America. Freedom is not to be given. It is not to be bestowed. It is ours by right. And the power behind the promise of freedom has always been in the faith of her people and our willingness to fight for freedom, be it on the fields of Gettysburg, in the schools of Little Rock, on the streets of Ferguson, and on this bridge right here in Selma. And today we know our fight for freedom is not over. Because in this moment we are witnessing a full-on attack on hard-fought, hard-won freedoms. Starting with the freedom that unlocks all others, the freedom to vote, the sacred freedom to vote. Today, in states across our nation, extremists pass laws to ban drop boxes, limit early voting, and restrict absentee ballots. In Georgia, extremists passed a law that even make it illegal to give people food and water for standing in line to exercise their civic duty and right to vote. I asked the friends here, Fred, whatever happened to love thy neighbor? The hypocrisy abounds. And do notice, the governor of Georgia signed that law on the 56th anniversary of this very march. Across our nation, extremists attack the integrity of free and fair elections, causing a rise of threats and violence against poll workers. In the face of these assaults on the freedom to vote, and in honor of all those who crossed this bridge, President Biden and I will continue continue to demand that the United States Congress pass the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. The fight for freedom. Today in states across our nation, extremists propose and pass laws that attack the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body. Laws that would make no exception even for rape or incest. Here in Alabama, they attack the freedom to use IVF treatment. Women and couples denied the ability to fulfill their dream of having a child. And consider the irony. On one hand, these extremists tell women they do not have the freedom to end an unwanted pregnancy, and on the other hand, these extremists tell women they do not have the freedom to start a family. Let us agree. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do with her body. Fight for freedom. That every person in our nation has a right to be free from the horror of gun violence. And yet today, these extremists stand by and refuse to pass reasonable gun safety laws to keep our children and places of worship safe. Freedom. That every person in our nation has a right to be free to love who they love openly and with pride. And yet, just this past year, extremists have passed or proposed hundreds of laws targeting LGBTQ people. Freedom. That every person in our nation has the freedom to learn and acknowledge our country's true and full history. And yet today, extremists pass book bans in this year of our Lord 2024. Well, they also try to erase, overlook, and rewrite the ugly parts of our past. Fundamental freedoms under assault. The freedom to vote, the freedom from fear, violence, and harm, the freedom to learn, the freedom to control one's own body, and the freedom just simply to be. And understand the profound impact these attacks have on the next generation of our leaders. Just last fall, 15,000 young leaders joined me during my fight for our Freedom's College School. And for them, these attacks on freedom are a lived experience. It is their lived experience that extremist leaders have intentionally closed polling places near college campuses and restricted the use of student IDs to vote. That it is black voters and student voters who are most targeted by anti-voter laws. A lived experience that during the height of their reproductive years, the highest court in our land, the Court of Thurgood, and RBG, spoke a constitutional right that had been recognized from the people of America, from the women of America. So that now this generation has fewer rights than their mothers and grandmothers. Their lived experience. That from kindergarten to 12th grade, they have consistently had to endure active shooter drills. While extremists refuse to pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban. Our young leaders, well, they are clear-eyed about what's at stake.
I'm gonna take my photography camera too.
And in the spirit of the young John Lewis, I know they too will not be deterred, they will not be defeated, and they will not
It should be like a 10 minutes. According to the schedule, about 10 minutes.
So, the challenges we currently face are not unlike the challenges faced by those 600 years old, 59 years ago. And in this moment, we too then are confronted with a fundamental question. What kind of country do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a country of freedom, liberty, and justice? Or a country of injustice, hate, and fear? We each have the power to answer that question. With our voice, with our feet, and with our vote. I'll close by sharing with you in my West Wing office in the White House. Yeah, that's where I work. I hung a piece of this artwork that is the first thing I see when I walk into my office in the morning. It's a large framed photograph taken on Bloody Sunday depicting an injured Amelia Boynton receiving care at the foot of this very bridge. And for me, it is a daily reminder of the struggle, of the sacrifice, and of how much we owe to those who gave so much before us. History is a relay race. Generations before us carried the baton, and now they have passed it to us. So let us continue to organize, let us continue to fight, and let's make some good trouble along the way. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Or we could, I think we could be able to squeeze it.
Will they let us? Because I know Secret Service is right there.
I stood over there and they didn't do anything to me.
Please remain in your seats. Please remain in your seats.
What am I doing?
Hold that. We're going to move over there. They actually wait. People.
Yeah, these people are getting they're gonna all come off the riser.
Okay, so we're gonna try to think.
I mean, we got to be right here. We'll make it work right here.
I guess we'll just have to stay here. Do you think we should switch?
Is that the problem? Do you need more light on your face?
Yeah, that's
we I'll just tell myself that. Are you dialed in? Have you hung up? Or will you hang up? I think that I might. Are you on the phone right now? Are you on telephone? Okay. I don't know. It's just right here. If you need me to walk out.
Hey, Stu needs to change his battery real quick.
You can change your camera battery.
Yeah, he did.
Did you hear me, Stu?
Yeah. That's Monet got attacked this issue, so we're good.
I guess I'm just kind of in the room for all
They said you can be in it. We can, we can do this. We'll share.
We do our own breadcrumbs.
Are you ready, Stu?
Is your camera good now?
Yeah.
Yes, ready.
Put me back in. I'm about to call you.
Do you mean hang up?
You just merge it.
Is yours IFB really bad? Cutting out. Like I can't tell what they're asking me when they ask me questions.
I can hear it.
Well, people still continue to make their way to the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge as they're getting ready to walk across it. They just let in more people. I see Tuskegee Mayor Tony Haygood. He is walking toward the back of that line. He was in a separate section that was reserved for dignitaries. So there was a few dozen, I would estimate, as we kind of look through the railing here. a few dozen people who were sitting in that other reserved seating area that was, again, if you're facing the stage, to the left of the stage. They are now making their way in. So they still have several people to get in line before they start marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge here this afternoon. Again, that wasn't supposed to start till about 3:45.
And, you know, we've all seen that iconic photo of those dignitaries locked arm in arm walking across the bridge. And that's the image we're going to ultimately see tonight. That's what they're planning for right now. So we know the dignitaries, of course, the vice president, are going to walk across the bridge first. And that's when we're going to see these barricades come down. So these people who are pushed up against it, ready to walk the bridge, some of them for the very first time, some of them have done this before, for the anniversary today.
And if you've never walked across that bridge, it's kind of bone chilling to just think about, you know, what they had to endure when they got to the top of the bridge, what they were met with. They were faced with a lot of resistance, a lot of violence, and so, you know, to think about that is just very bone chilling. I remember last year I was there the Saturday before the actual commemoration, and it was with the Faith and Politics Institute. A lot of congressional members were there, and they got up to the top of the bridge, and we listened to the voice of the late Congressman John Lewis, and it gave me chills because it was almost like he was there.
His spirit, I think, is with a lot of people here today. We heard almost every speaker mention the late Congressman John Lewis, who was one of the original foot soldiers who attempted to cross this bridge 59 years ago. So I think a lot of folks are remembering the words that he shared. We also heard Congresswoman Terry Sewell, who loved Congressman John Lewis, talk about being with him for his final walk across this bridge 4 months before he died. He had a long battle with cancer, and she talked about him encouraging everyone to continue the fight and not to give up, and that the fight was not a fight of today, but it was a fight of a lifetime, and sometimes lifetimes and generations, and encouraging people to continue to pass that baton and continue to fight for those fundamental rights.
And a harsh reality is, you know, every year that we have this anniversary, we lose more and more of those original foot soldiers. I mean, just back in January, we did some reporting on George Sally, one of those foot soldiers who passed away at the age of 94. This week, I was talking with Representative Sewell here in Selma leading up to these events, and she once again paid homage to him. You know, you'll remember last year, the man that was shoulder and shoulder with President Biden, that was George Sally. So he's not here today for this bridge crossing. This is the first one since his passing.
And really, it's, you know, crucially important that not only do they recommemorate this same moment every single year, but also keep pushing forward the effort to protect voting rights for everyone, whether they're black, whether they're a woman, whether they're disabled. It's been a fight for nearly the past 6 decades, and we've been a lot of pushback from the states. There's been a lot of pushback from the Supreme Court from time to time. There's just been a lot of unraveling that's happened over the last couple of decades, and the federal government is also trying to push back as well and just say, hey, everyone deserves a right to vote. And so that's why they've been pushing this legislation in Washington, the John Lewis Voter Enhancement Act, and wanting to make sure that they can modernize those protections that were once placed in 1965.
We have a lot of movement going on.
Yes, we're starting to see those barricades move. And Vice President Kamala Harris said the right to vote unlocks so many other rights and freedoms for the American people. We're starting to see these barricades move, so we imagine we're going to start seeing this crowd moving forward and walking across that bridge as well. But we heard Vice President Harris talk a lot about voting rights during her speech, and she mentioned issues specific here to Alabama. She talked about IVF and that Supreme Court ruling that said that embryos were children. She talked about that. She also talked about access to absentee voting. We know there is a bill making its way through the Alabama State House right now that addresses, it kind of restricts access to absentee ballots. Those who are pushing this bill say, hey, it protects the integrity of the right to vote. Others argue it restricts access to voting, but we heard the Vice President address what she called an attack by extremists to restrict the right to vote.
Absolutely, Sally. And, there's a lot of shouting from the crowd. I don't know if they're saying,
ready to
let's
get
go,
moving.
let's
They are
go,
ready to
but
go. They're ready to get
They're definitely
moving.
ready to go. They're definitely ready
They have
to.
been waiting for hours to get across this bridge.
And it has
They're
gotten
ready.
hot
Yeah.
out here. I mean, the sun has started to wear on them. I imagine we've seen a few people have to walk off with some medics who are out here. They are getting overcome by. It's not that hot. It's not that hot. But when you stand still and you're in a crowd and the sun is just beaming down on you, it really takes its toll. So a lot of folks are getting overheated out here and overcome. So a few folks that are walking off, but I know they are ready to get moving. They've been patient. They've been standing here, some of them for hours, waiting for this moment.
I was telling some of them, because I've covered this event before, I was like, make sure you're drinking your water, make sure you're eating your food when you can, because it is a long wait. And we were talking about earlier, that slight drizzle, a lot of people had their umbrellas. They were not letting the weather stop them from being here today. Now they're using those umbrellas to find a little bit of shade. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of like you got, the heat. That sun is, dehydrating everybody. Those water bottles are pretty much finished. They're history now. And so, they're probably also haven't ate in a while, so they're probably hangry like some of us are.
Yes, some of them packed some snacks, others didn't. So we're about 10 minutes until the time that they had planned to start the walk, but Vice President Kamala Harris did take the stage a little early. She spoke for about 20 minutes, but it is a process to get everyone in line. The first thing they did was they put those trucks in place at the bottom of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and that's where members of the media got on that bridge with their cameras so that you can see those images as they walk across. And they started lining up the dignitaries, and then the folks from the additional reserve seating had to file in as well. And it just took some time to get everybody in place.
And Sally, it's not the first time actually seeing how this process works. I've actually seen the finished product of it, but I've never seen how, we were able to always capture that powerful shot of all those dignitaries up front walking across the bridge. But we're going to send it back to Bethany and Valerie.
Sorry.
Know that we were signed up for that? You were on here.
Am I good to walk behind you? Okay, just making sure. I didn't know if you were like, yeah.
She just came out? Yeah. The vice president just walked out. She's in the middle now.
Sucking in as much as I can.
We won't be able to get in front of the camera. You'll just have to take it. We'll talk.
Are you going?
That's what
I'll
they
put
said.
your tripod with our stuff too. No problem.
Okay.
All right, they're coming live to us. Well, they've just opened up those barricades and let all of those in the crowd began their march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They are approaching that group of dignitaries. Many of them are carrying signs that have a picture of the late Congressman John Lewis on, and it says, "Protect our vote." They were starting to get a little restless out here. We will be honest with you.
Yeah,
They've been out here. They were
ready.
chanting, "Let's march, Selma." What else would they say? They had several chants.
Let's
Trying to,
go,
let's
like-
go.
One lady literally, before they even started, like she started screaming, and the guys were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Like. They were saying, "Take your pictures and go. Take your
pictures and go," and they were they waited several hours just to hear the vice president speak, and then they had to wait several more minutes to begin their march. So they are all very happy to get moving right now. But again, several of them are carrying signs. You mentioned that one with the picture of the late Congressman John Lewis on it. It says "Protect our vote." I have another one over here that says Black Lives Matter. Several of those signs that say "I march for those who cannot demand democracy." That's another sign.
A lot of "Protect Our Vote" signs with pictures of Congressman Lewis on there, and people are singing, "They're not going to let nobody turn them around." And that's just the spirit that they're trying to echo from those people who crossed that bridge for the first time 59 years ago.
And I imagine that those people who attempted to cross this bridge 59 years ago were singing as well, as a source of comfort for them. As we heard the vice president talk about, they knew they were going to be met with resistance. They knew they were going to face that wall of state troopers, and they marched anyway.
This really is a crowd of people of all walks of life. I'm seeing young kids marching across the bridge right now. I'm also seeing, I saw one woman, going a little slower with her cane, trying to be safe, amid the crowd. But
it's a mom pushing her baby in a stroller.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, a little baby in the stroller. We got a little bit of everybody out here. So this is a part of history they want to participate in.
And let's talk about the stuff that like people have on. Like you have different types of, tribal cloth that they've worn. We have different T-shirts that they've made. It's interesting to see the types of outfits that people have put together specifically for this day.
I see a man wearing a shirt that said "Foot soldiers never die."
I saw somebody that wore a jacket, and the back of it says the original foot soldiers. They were part of that dignitary crowd that crossed the bridge with the president and all of the congressional officials.
There were a few of them up there wearing those jackets who were in the reserved seating up front and the front of the crowd. Some of those original foot soldiers. Cheyenne Webb Kreisberg, one of those, who was just 8 years old 59 years ago when she was here on Bloody Sunday, and back here again today, encouraging folks to continue the fight.
And some of these children that were, that were her age, or are her age, what she was back then, they're getting to cross that bridge and pretty much reliving what they've had to deal with, aside from the pushback and the violence from the state troopers that were waiting on the other side of the bridge.
It's a powerful moment. It's an important moment. See a lot of children in this crowd.